Well, welcome back, everybody, to Music Talk. I'm Dave,
I'm Mike.
and it's been a couple weeks. I've been a little under the weather, so I apologize for us not putting out anything recently. We've been listening to this CD here for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, I'll
I
play it.
have anyway.
I'll
So,
play it.
so this week we're gonna do Tinsley Ellis.
Yep.
Right, it's called "The Devil May Care," and I really like this album cover, man. I think it's pretty cool. You know, it's like a stunt guy on a plane. Got his guitar in his hand. Got a plane guitar on the plane. Pretty cool.
Like the same artist that Little Feat used for a lot of their stuff,
Kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah.
same artist.
Then you got a picture of Tinsley on the back here, playing his hollow body Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
The CD's kind of plain, really. Just all you really need, right?
Ross, yeah.
CD case comes in nice plastic. This is put out by Alligator Records, so you got some money there. Same thing on this as you have on the sleeve, and then inside they give you the track listings and everybody that played on the record, and then a list of all of Tinsley's albums down here that he's put out. So I'm not very familiar with Tinsley Ellis, man. I kind of stumbled across him not long ago. I was listening to some Tab Benoit, and you know how when you're listening to like Amazon Music or Pandora or any of those streaming ones, that once the album you listen to is over, they put somebody on that's similar, right? So I'm listening to this song, and it's like killer song. I'm like, wow, who is this guy, right? So I looked it up, and it was Tinsley Ellis, and I'm like, I've never heard of this guy. So then I Googled it and found out he just put out a record this year. So that's what we got here, man. And I mean, I don't know if you've heard about him before in the past, but
I've heard about him back when I was in the Portland blues scene when I was living down there, which I'm hopefully to get involved in again.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man.
But to me, this is just good Roadhouse music, and I loved everything he did. Now I got some other comments down here, but I mean they're all minor comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you, man. It's a straight up blues record. It's a real good blues record.
I could hear Delbert McClinton grabbing this thing and doing it and turning it into a good rock and Roadhouse album.
Yeah, and I want to say I think he's done some stuff with Elbert before. I mean, I looked him up a little bit. He's played with a lot of people. I mean, he's shared the stage with Warren Haynes, the Allman Brothers,
Walter Trout.
Yeah, all the greats, right? I think he might even, I want to say he done some stuff with Willie Dixon and Albert King even. But anyway,
maybe, yeah.
I mean, the guy's been around for a while, so I mean, he's out of Georgia, so he's got that Southern blues sound coming, and you really hear that on the record.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, this record was done because he was out on tour in 2020, and they were promoting Ice Cream in Hell album, and of course everything shut down. So bang, there they are, shut down. He's sitting down in Georgia. And he gets to looking around through albums that he hadn't listened to in years and stuff that he had done he hadn't listened to in years, and wound up with over 200 songs.
Yeah,
that he needed to record.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So what he wound up doing is he hooked up with Kevin McKendry, which is a keyboard player that has his own studio in Franklin, Tennessee.
Right.
And it's the Rock House Studio.
Yep.
They hooked up, and they brought Steve Mackey in on bass, which is another producer,
and he's been around too.
Had been around forever. I mean, and brought in Lynn Williams on drums, which was, now I gotta admit, I was not familiar with who Lynn Williams was, but he's been in Nashville for the past 30 years as a session drummer.
Yeah, he's a big session guy. Yeah.
He's been working with a lot of people. And I was kind of like, okay, he's advertising on here too, on this site that I'm looking at. $120 per song if you want him to play drums on your music.
Nice.
It's called Air Sessions.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But I mean, that's what you got to do in the pandemic when you can't get face to face with people and shit. You know, you send me your stuff, I'll lay down tracks and I'll combine it down and send it right back to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean the whole thing. I mean, you can tell that these guys are all studio musicians, man, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's very professional.
Yep.
Very professional. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you also got a couple guys playing horns. You got Jim Hoke or Hoke on sax, and then Andrew Carney on trumpet.
Right. There was only a couple of places where they were at, though.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but get back to Lynn Williams, though. I mean, here some of the people he worked with: Delbert McClinton, Leroy Parnell, Russ Taff, and I think he's with the Wallflowers.
Very possible.
I think he's drummer for the Wallflowers too.
Well, Steve Mackey, I mean, you know, he's been around too. He actually was playing with Frampton. So you got a group of studio guys here, and it sounds like it. I mean, it's very professional sounding, you know. So we'll go through. It was actually produced also by that guy, the organ player. What'd you say, Kevin McKendry?
Yeah, McKendry.
Yeah, so Tinsley Ellis and Kevin McKendry both produced the record.
Right. Yeah, and I read one of the reviews I read. It was like how they during the the COVID thing during recording this, how they would sit down and discuss things and look at what direction they want to take the songs in and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things I got to say about the organ player, which we'll get to as we roll through them. So we'll go down the tracks real quick. First one is One Less Reason. You know, that's to me, it sounds like Allman Brothers. 12-bar blues, Allman Brothers. You got the harmony guitars, the guy's voice sounds a lot like Greg Allman to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved the song. I loved the way it opened up.
Me too.
And I've got it here. It's a good Texas / New Orleans shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to the way Lynn is shuffling those drums, I mean, it almost starts out like a Chicago shuffle, but then it backs up.
Right. And that's what,
that pocket,
when you get that pocket going and then you add those harmony guitars, and that's what makes me think of Allman's, man.
Yeah. There you go. Uh-huh.
And then you got that
somebody wrong.
and that nasty organ sound, man. He was getting a nasty organ sound on this record, man.
Oh yeah.
So, and I say that as a good way, a good nasty organ,
I want to believe it was a real B3.
I think it has to be, man, because that's what when I was listening to it, I was like, there's no way you can fake that.
There was a couple of times I thought that the Leslie effect was a little too quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because on the mechanical Leslies, you hear that swirl, right, and it will slow and speed up and slow and speed.
The tempo
up.
change. Yep.
Because the belt's slipping.
Exactly. And that's what you want, right? That gives you that nasty sound.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love that song. Then we get to the second one, Right Down the Drain. Again, you got the organ, great piano sound in this one. He's got a little bit of slide going on there. And then the solo, I liked it because the thing about this record is it sounds like it's more than one guitar player, because he's playing so many guitar parts. And in this particular song, the solo, he's trading back and forth, where he's doing a slide on one side, and then he's doing a regular picking on the other. So it sounds like two guitar players are going back and forth.
He was looking
for a snare roll.
He was looking for Dickie Betts counterpart.
It kind of what it was like that, really. To me, that's what I was going, man, it's just like, there's a lot of Allman influence on this.
There is.
But them snare rolls he was doing, man, on that second chorus, this drummer is killing it, dude.
Oh yeah.
They all are. I thought the rhythm section was as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And you know what really torques me about this whole thing is when I was looking up information on this, I found a couple of reviews about the album, and they were all positive reviews, but they would talk about, McKendry, Tinsley, and then they go, and the rhythm section.
Yeah. To me,
it's like, goddamn, there's a name there. I'm sorry, but I'm part of a rhythm section, and I got to tell you right now, we work our ass off in the background.
Yeah.
If you don't have a foundation to stand on, your music's going to suck.
Well, that's why I think this album was so good, because you had that great rhythm section.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the drummer and the bass player are playing together so well on this record. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
You know, we get to song number 3, Just Like Rain. Okay.
Yep.
This song reminds me of Feels Like Rain, the John Hyatt song done by,
Yes.
you know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
I couldn't put a finger on which one it reminded me of, but that's a good
The Buddy Guy version of
Right.
that song is what
Right.
it reminded me of, you know.
Okay.
And you know, you get your horns here and you get that nasty organ, but you know what made this song to me was the ride cymbal, because it sounded like rain. Do you know what I mean? Because he's sitting there riding that cymbal, man, and it's like, you know, you really feel it feels like it's raining.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Again, the rhythm section doing it, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a great song. So then we get to number 4. It's Beat the Devil, right?
Yep.
This has got your classic blues. It's got the good driving bass.
Mm-hmm.
It got that guitar with the organ, the horns, all of it. It reminds me a little bit of, here I was getting a little bit of Robert Cray. I felt a little Robert Cray, Eric Clapton-ish on this one.
Yeah, I felt more Eric Clapton, you know, and to me, there are pinches of Eric Clapton through everything that we've listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Cray, yeah.
Well, the reason why I say Robert Cray is because when he opens up, he's like, twist of the knife. Right. You know, that's like, that was a total Robert Cray sound to me. Mm-hmm. He had the guitar sound with it, everything, you know. So, but again, I felt a lot of Clapton as well. So,
yeah,
another good song too, man. You know.
Now, this next song, Don't Bury Our Love. Now, I got to tell you, I stopped, listened to this song when it got through the full verse. I stopped it and backed it up, and I pulled out a Blood, Sweat, and Tears CD I had.
Yeah.
And let me tell you right now, I love you more than you'll ever know. Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah. Is it?
Paul Schaefer used to do this song on the David Letterman show. They come out and put the cape on him and everything. He'd be standing up there singing it. Yeah. It's the same song, different lyrics.
And you know what else too? It's probably Warren Haynes took that on his song that he wrote and let Joe Bonamassa do, called If Heartaches Were Nickels.
Yep.
It's got the same descending bass, the same turnaround.
Yep.
All of that.
The only thing is that every time they get to the end of 4 bars, you know, they would do da da. Blood, Sweat, and Tears would do da 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 da.
Yeah.
You know, don't, you know,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. The thing on this one, you know what made me really like this song too, and I'm gonna sound like monotonous by saying this, but that rim shot that he was getting was awesome, man.
Yeah.
It had that reverb on it, and he would pop, man. That rim shot was, I love that sound, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was awesome. And then, you know, when the bass and the drum, they pick up on the bridge, they start doing that double time. You know, it was great. I thought it was fantastic. You know, another part. It's another reason why the rhythm section is so important, because this song could have just droned on and been the same all the way from front to back. But then you take the rhythm section, you double time it, you walk it, and you end up with a whole completely different song.
Well, the thing is too, though, I'm going to tell you right now, listening to this, they used a lot of old school technology. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, like what you're talking about on the rim shot. When I was with Rick Stanley, I was doing all the sound as we were house band. And I would have to sit there and figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And I figured out ways of running an analog delay out of a send back into a channel. So if I wanted this delayed swell reverb sound, what I would do, I would only put the effects on the channel where I was sending the delay back into, and then I would add that reverb there.
Yeah.
So you would say something, it'd be like, pop,
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's what I heard in this recording. It's like, yeah, there's some old school stuff going on here.
I know. I like it a lot, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's so clean and you hear it. You know what I'm saying? You hear it. It makes you go, I can figure out what he's doing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Don't get me started on digital stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I ain't doing it.
So we'll go to number 6, and this is Juju, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So this to me is Allman Brothers with a little Dr. John.
Ain't wasting time no more.
It's exactly
Slow down, southbound and down.
Yep. And then when you get to the chorus, it turns into Dr. John.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You got that New Orleans, you know. So I thought it was great. It has a great piano solo in this one. You know, you had the Fender Rhodes in there, and then you had this other piano going in there, and man, that was great. And then the guitar at the end is a total Allman Brothers, that bridge, you know, all that. So the bass was great once again, you know.
Oh yeah.
But what a great song, you know.
Oh man, the whole album's great.
So so far we're at 6, and hasn't been a bad song yet, right? Mm-hmm. Then we get to Step Up. Now here's a classic one, you know, Step Up. It's got the classic riff, the horns, blues.
Yeah, simulating the funk, man.
Exactly. You know, another great song. And then number 8, One Last Ride. That's another good old blues. Got the Allman Brothers sound. They got this great solo work in this song.
Oh yeah.
So then we get to 28 Days. He picks this one up a little bit. He's got his wah pedal going on. This one here, he wanted you to know that he can play wah pedal.
Yeah.
Because this whole song, he's just whipping that wah pedal out, man.
You know, somebody got to do it. Yeah.
Yep. And the song's about when you go to rehab, it's a 28-day, you spend 28 days in rehab. So that's basically what the song is, you know, kind of, you know, analogy in there. And we get to number 10.
Blue Jean Blues.
Yeah, it's exactly Blue Jean Blues. It's exactly Blue Jean Blues. But I'll tell you one thing I did not like about it, and I have written down here, which I'll show you, so you believe you don't. I'm not just saying that because you said it, but if you look right there, Blue Jean Blues, top. But the only difference is this one reminded me of. You remember when you were talking about last week or two, where Spectre Sound Studios and all them guys, and Rick Beato talks about how they line stuff up.
Yep.
On number 1, on 2. This song sounds like they did that.
Right.
There's no feeling in this one to me. This to me was the worst song on the record because it didn't have the feeling the rest of the album had.
Yeah.
To me.
Well, here's the thing that made me mad about this song and how close it is to Blue Jean Blues. When I was with Ronnie Wolf, we were in the UP, the Upper Peninsula there in Michigan at a casino. We were doing the lounge. And ZZ Top was there for Friday and Saturday night. Okay, so, all right, early Friday morning, I get a call. You know, I'm going to lay the story out. Early Friday morning, I get a call in the hotel room, not motel. They needed the riser that my drums were sitting on. And I'm like, well, there ain't no carpet on that stage. So of course I get up and I go down there. I'm half hungover from the night before, you know, because you always got to sit around and play the one-armed bandits and drink some hard liquor, you know.
Yeah, you know.
What I mean, what the
lifestyle?
I mean, I'm obligated to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you are part of a rhythm section.
But at 9 a.m, got to go down and watch them moving my drums to take my riser.
Yeah.
So I go down there and I watch them. They carefully moved everything, but they didn't leave me a carpet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go over and I watch them set all this shit up. Their sound man walks in. He's got his Apple notebook with him, and he's sitting down and he's punching in all this stuff. And they're using the house system at this point. And what he's using to test the system was Blue Jean Blues, because it's so open and powerful the way they played it. And he could crank it and make that system do whatever he wanted it to do.
Yep.
System couldn't handle it.
And you could feel you could it absorbs. That's one of them songs where it absorbed, the sound is absorbed into the room, so you can figure out how to balance things. So
that's one of those songs that, and that's why I was a little disappointed. And I immediately, right off the bat, I knew where that song came from. And I just got to thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, I felt like it almost sounded like they played that 3 chords one time and then just kept on copying and pasting it. That's how it felt to me.
Right. And see, it shouldn't feel that way, because when you're doing songs like Blue Jean Blues and songs like Gravity, those songs, it's the spacing.
Yep.
Makes it human.
Yeah.
And you have to have that human element and error in there to make it work. It doesn't work mechanically.
And of all the songs on this record, I could feel it. But this one, it drove me nuts, man. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? You know?
Should have just Blue Jean Blues on there and said, just had to put another song on the album. So I thought I'd use ZZ Top, you know.
Well, I mean, he had 190 other ones he could have chose from. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's a super terrible song. It was just the one to me that sounded cut and paste is what it sounded like. That was the problem I had with it.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's a great record. I have a couple things. I think it was recorded well.
I'm gonna continue listening to it. You know, I mean, I think it was recorded well too.
It was recorded well. It was produced well. I think I love the separation he had on the guitar. You had left, you had right. You had everything coming around you. I think the organ was fantastic. The drums sounded great. The bass was great. They were great together. The biggest problem I had with this was there was not one time that they did an organ solo on the whole record. And you had a great organ player with that nasty sound, and you have a great guitar player. Not one time did they play off of each other.
That, and the one thing that I noticed too is like like Greg and Dwayne used to do, ain't wasting time no more. You know, organ was twinning everything that Dwayne and was doing, you know. It's like right there.
Wasn't a lot going on this.
Right.
You know,
yeah, I mean, they could, well, maybe they didn't do that though, because they didn't want to get pegged as trying to copy Allman Brothers.
Well, but you're layering 3 guitar parts on top of each other. Why couldn't you just put 2 and add the organ?
Well,
you know, so I just wish that they would have had at least one song where they had a solo section that they both traded off on, kind of like what he did with the slide guitar regular picking. He could have did that on 1 or 2 of these songs, because the organ sound was so great, man. I mean, it was great. I wanted to hear some of that Deep Purple blues. You know?
Well, then you got to cut the cord on the Leslie. You got you know, the horn doesn't move; it just sits there and it distorts. You know?
If that's what it takes, give it to me, because I missed it. I missed that. I wish there would have been a little more interaction between the organ. You did have the one song, Juju had a great piano solo in it, where they were fading around and you could hear him in the background. It wasn't as prominent, but he was jamming, right? Yep. But not once did they do it with an organ in any of these songs. So that was a real downfall on this record for me. Song number 10, the song was actually called Slow Train to Hell. And it kind of felt like that. You were on a slow train to hell listening to that song. So song 10, I really didn't like much. And I wish they would have incorporated more organ solo with the guitar, is all.
Well,
I think it was a great record.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, that's pretty much the way I felt about it, because the minute I heard the opening turnaround on Slow Train to Hell, I'm like, that's Blue Jean Blues.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point I lost interest in really listening, because there's only one band that can do Blue Jean Blues. Yep. And that was ZZ Top.
Yeah.
And they already did it, you know. Now, all that aside, I think it's a great album.
Yeah.
I am so glad that there are people out there keeping this alive to
Right.
where it crosses over.
Yeah.
It crosses over into every venue that you can think of, you know, because it's hard to do. It's hard to do, especially now.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like the late 50s, early 60s when, you know, they were having to hire Pat Boone and Elvis Presley to do black music.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's like you can't timestamp anything. You have to do it with heart and feeling and
Right.
do it true to the bone. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
90% of this album was done true to the bone.
Absolutely.
I just feel like the last track was, I think it was a waste of space.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I listened to it a couple times and I tried to grasp it, but I couldn't. It just
No,
wasn't right to me. It didn't feel right. So I don't know.
I mean, you did a great job playing it. I mean, I listened to the bass lines and
Yeah.
drums. I'm like, you know, yeah, everything's there.
Yep.
Here you go. But it's already been done.
Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, the rest of the stuff, I mean, obviously you hear stuff that you've heard before.
Right.
But it was done at such a great quality. You had a great rhythm section. Tinsley was just ripping the guitar a whole album.
Oh yeah.
And then you have that nasty organ. I mean, everything worked, you know, with the exception of song 10, which I don't know what happened there. They just dropped the ball on 10, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
honestly, though, I really think with today's new public that's listening, you know, and what I mean by the new public is the Z generation, whatever you want to call them. And that's what I was going to bring up. I just had my grandson up here from Arizona, and I gave him a lot of CDs, you know, pertaining to the Beatles. And
Right.
this younger generation loves that music.
Yeah.
And the thing is okay, how long would you have to sit and wait before you heard Blue Jean Blues?
Right.
See what I'm saying? So there's a plus side to it. It's like, okay, you're bringing this on. So what this brings up is the subject of, let's have a conversation about the song. Here's the real deal.
Right. Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah. So you can investigate and say, oh, well, let's go check that one out. And then you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
So, yeah, I mean, and that's my whole thing that I'm going on through this whole album. I heard definite lifts off of artists that we have been listening to ever since we were knee high.
mm-hmm.
And fantastic job.
Yeah.
Opens the conversation, keeps the music alive.
Yep.
I love every minute of it.
I did too, man. I thought it was a great record. I'm actually going to give this one an 8.7.
Yeah.
I really like this record.
Yeah, I was going to go with an 8.5. I was going to look at 8.5 on it because I love the techniques that Len was using on drums. The way he locked in with the bass player or vice versa. I mean, it's unbeatable. And
to me, even Tinsley's voice and his words and his guitar playing, I felt it. You know, he makes you feel what he's talking about.
Yep.
You know, it was not fake. I mean, he was ripping it. His guitar solos, you could follow right along with him. They were a little predictable at times. You knew what the next lick was, and you knew what run was coming back out and where he was going to end. But I like that, man. And then he just rips these soulful lyrics on you. And it's like, this is what the blues is all about. You add a little bit of that New Orleans in there. You got, a little bit of the almonds. It's a great mashup of good old blues, man. Well, what I'm starting to look at as we're commenting on these albums the way we are and dealing with like my grandson and stuff and picking up these kids that go to Evergreen College and stuff and listening to what they're listening to is like, I can get a little miffed when I hear stuff picked up
and pasted pretty much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I got to look at it and go, more power to you.
Yeah.
Keep the old stuff alive.
That's right.
Yeah.
And again, this is an artist that probably not many people know about. So hopefully we can get him out there checking into him. And I mean, I'm going to start digging into his older stuff because I'm kind of anxious to hear what his older stuff sounds like.
I want to hear the one that he had to drop the tour on. I've heard of his name before. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be honest with you, being in music as long as I have, honestly, I can't really tell you of anything I've heard in the past, but I want to dig back and listen to this album that they were touring on when they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
You know,
yep.
I'm impressed, and I don't know who he used on that album. I need to do some research, and I think it's at some point that maybe we can bring that album up and review it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm digging what I heard on this, so just do a little flashback or something.
Yeah, well, a flashback or do a welcome back,
right. Or we could just do a profile of him and talk about a lot of his stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just research him and say, well, why didn't you really stick out in my face? I mean, right. Walter Trout, I've heard of him.
Yeah. Most people have. So,
yeah.
So, all right. Well, anyway, we'll wrap it up.
Yep.
Tinsley Ellis, Devil May Care. I recommend it. Highly recommend it. I think it's a great record. If you never heard of the guy, go check him out. Mm-hmm. He's got it all. So anyway, I gave it 8.7. Mike gave it 8.5.
Yep.
And until next time, you guys stay safe out there.
Peace out. And listen to the music.